So next up we have Ryan Parkin, Managing Director and CEO of Infinity Lithium Corporation.
Thank you for the kind introduction, and thank you to the Paydirt team for the opportunity to speak here today. My name is Ryan Parkin, Managing Director and CEO of Infinity Lithium Corporation, and we have primarily been progressing our flagship San Jose lithium chemical conversion project located in Spain in the Extremadura region, quite close to the Portuguese border. I've recently spent quite a bit of time in Europe, and before I dive into presenting our project and our technological developments, I thought I'd share with you some of our key takings from having spent the better part of 2 months there more recently. It's clear against the backdrop of the tragedy that's unfolding a little bit further east that Europe is rapidly adjusting, and they're now moving entirely towards energy independence. We've seen multiple statements across all levels of government. We engage directly through all levels of government in Spain, regional, local, federally, but also directly with the European Commission and through Vice President Maros Šefčovič, who leads and drives the European Battery Alliance. They are entirely focused on investment in critical raw materials that underpin this move to energy transition and a greener future. So what's driving this change in Europe is clear, and there are a couple of forces that have been driving it over the midterm and obviously more recently. We can see that geopolitical tension from the east is now facilitating that move to total energy independence well before 2030. And this is going to be highly aligned to the use of green hydrogen, renewable energies, photovoltaic, wind power, biofuels, biomass, but also support for critical raw materials and conversion capacity moving forward. This is also against the backdrop of localising supply chains, and this move to deglobalisation has been really highlighted with the advent of COVID over the last couple of years. However, within Europe, they've been highly focused on their exposure to critical raw materials from as early as January 2019. And we're starting to reach that critical point where we can see that supply is quickly not going to outstrip demand within Europe for a long period of time. So Europe's pretty much a victim of their own success further downstream. The EBA has been highly focused on developing lithium-ion battery plants. We're seeing more than 1,000 gigawatt hours in the pipeline before 2030, and they're going to have a critical shortage of raw materials to be able to fuel that development and their move to e-mobility. So it's really an urgent time for Europe, and pretty much the same thematic that's playing out in North America and other market segments. So just to touch on us, Infinity Lithium, we're progressing an advanced lithium chemical conversion facility that will use Europe's second largest hard rock lithium resource on site to produce battery-grade lithium chemicals. And we've recently repositioned that project to include the underground extraction of that material in direct response to the local community. We've also been working here in Australia with some novel and new technologies that we've recently secured through provisional patents, and we believe this can revolutionise lithium chemical conversion globally, particularly with opportunities to exploit lower grade ores. And we're looking forward to updating the market more in that space over the coming months. Just a quick snapshot of us corporately, some familiar faces there across the board. Really like to highlight that we've recently appointed a new CEO to our Spanish subsidiary, Mr. Ramon Jimenez Serrano. Ramon comes from more than 17 years experience as CEO and MD of Acciona Industrial, a large Spanish company involved in global projects in energy transition, photovoltaic, biomass, and other industries that will complement our projects in Spain. We're also led by an exceptional technical team, John Starink, who's our Chief Technical Officer, and Dr. David Marie, who's previously the Principal Scientist aligned to Talison Lithium. So we're thrilled to have those guys driving our developments, both in Infinity Green Tech and with our sulphate roast process aligned to the San Jose project. So the project itself, again, is highly aligned to lithium chemical processing with close to 90% of the CapEx pre-production aligned to this activity, the value add and the real strategic importance in Europe and particularly Spain to cornerstone the development of their own lithium-ion battery value chain. We are located about 3 hours west of Madrid. We have a proven and sustainable lithium chemical conversion process that has been funded largely through European funds over the last 18 months to the point where we have proven the production of battery-grade lithium hydroxide. We're working with the local community now to upskill and advance their training and development to participate in this generational opportunity. So the resource itself sees Europe's second largest hard rock lithium resource with close to 111 million tonnes JORC defined, which is equivalent of about 1.6 million tonnes lithium carbonate equivalent. So this is a very significant hard rock lithium resource with a lithium bearing mica ore. We have recently transitioned this project underground in direct response to the local community, as I've alluded to previously. And this is an old underground tin mine from the 1960s. So when you walk the ground, you can see the shafts, you can see the dilapidated buildings, and there have been further drilling and other technical studies undertaken in the 80s and early 90s with the discovery of lithium in the tailings and various drill holes. Fast forward to 2017, post a successful tender process with the regional government, we undertook drilling activities to the point where we defined this resource. And this is truly an opportunity for Europe to cornerstone their lithium-ion battery value chain with localised source of product. So the move underground here is really a seismic change for the local community. We've gone from what was previously an open pit to now a 1,500 metre decline, represented by that porthole there on the left-hand side of the screen, to act as essentially an industrial activity that's going to be the feedstock for this fully integrated project. The move underground allows us to significantly reduce our tailings profile with paste infill, and due to our novel process flow sheet, with much of our waste being dry stack tailings, we're able to continually rehabilitate the site. So this is an aerial overview of our resource area as opposed to where the industrial plant's going to be located, and it looks very different to what we would have seen 12 months ago. In direct consultation with local politicians and the local community, the move underground alleviates any concerns that they have for visual impact and to affect the water table in the region. There is no dust, there are no issues with vibrations, and the local community can continue to use this area on the surface as we access it from 1.5 kilometres away in a truly integrated project. So more recently, we announced in Q4 the confirmation of test work to produce both battery-grade lithium carbonate and lithium hydroxide, which is important for optionality in the European market. They're LFP cathodes that are going to be more highly aligned to lithium carbonate, albeit they can use lithium hydroxide. And also lithium hydroxide is primarily aligned to the cathodes that we was referring to, the high nickel content NMC 811 by way of example, which would be prevalent in the European market. So we're going to be moving towards a steady state production over 26 years of close to 20,000 tonnes per annum of battery-grade lithium hydroxide. And our sustainable and green processing technology sees a sulphate introduced in the kiln, a potassium and sodium sulphate, a glacerite, that's also able to be recycled throughout the process. So we have greener credentials in line with the local community's demands and under the strictest environmental considerations within Europe. You can see there, again, just with reference to our CapEx, more than 85% of our pre-production CapEx is aligned to the downstream value add and strategically imported process to produce that battery-grade material. Our environmental credentials are essential to operate in the European community. As I've alluded to, our tailings profile is minimised on the surface. It allows continual rehabilitation, with the vast majority of that material able to be put back underground. We're able to recycle our key and non-toxic reagents throughout the process that has been endorsed through EIT and O Energy and funded through the availability of European funds. We've recently signed an MOU with ThyssenKrupp to examine the possibility to power our kiln entirely with green hydrogen. And this is aligned to the strategy in the Extremadura region where we operate, which has vast photovoltaic and wind assets and is aggressively moving towards the production of green hydrogen. Our feedstock is located on site. We don't need to move a concentrate to Perth from the middle of Australia. We don't need to move our concentrate to China for conversion. This is a lower grade ore that is able to be processed on site due to the availability of that key infrastructure. So our goals in aligning our energy requirements are aligned to the regional government's objectives, and this is how we're moving politically to ensure we are aligned to local stakeholders and to the strategic assets that are natural within the Extremadura region of Spain. Extremadura accounts for close to a quarter of the renewable energies that are generated in Spain, more than 100% of the total energy generated that is required within Extremadura, and it is actually sold throughout Spain in green energy credits. We're able to use green energy certificates or align an independent photovoltaic plant to power our project. And we're working with ThyssenKrupp not only to power our kiln, our rotary kiln, through green hydrogen, but also to assess other opportunities in the green hydrogen space. We're also entirely focused on the move to an electrified fleet, an underground fleet, which I believe we all agree is the future for mining globally. Societally, we're working closely with local institutions, the university, but also within Europe there have been a number of announcements and funding commitments to be able to upskill and deal with this generational opportunity for the locality of Cáceres. Cáceres has recently benefited from a $73 million commitment to base their national energy storage research there, and with no projects currently on the table to fulfil that area, we are top of the list and working closely with Eno Energy, and having recently announced a collaboration with the local business group to undertake those initial steps of training in the lithium-ion battery development. So our local strategy and engagement has seen the progression of our Spanish entity, Extremadura New Energies, and the recent appointment of our CEO, Ramon Jimenez Serrano, to continue to build our Spanish executive and local team. We're working with local business associations, universities, religious groups, all major stakeholders so that they can understand this opportunity aligned to industry to produce battery-grade lithium chemicals and to attract other industries in the lithium-ion battery value chain, which are essential for this region, which suffers from close to 25% unemployment pre-COVID and massive depopulation issues. We're going to continue to work with the local community to train and educate and provide opportunities through the university to ensure that the majority of jobs are aligned to the locality of Cáceres. Again, just to move through this quickly, I'm chewing through the time. Europe's very focused, obviously, on energy transition and energy independence on the back of some of the political considerations over the last couple of months, which have been staggering, but they're entirely focused on the availability of critical raw materials. And again, Maros Šefčovič, who's the Vice President of the European Commission and the champion of the European Battery Alliance, is aggressively driving these initiatives. The European Battery Alliance met in February whilst I was in Europe, and they highlighted 4 major points that are entirely relevant to us. They have identified the most strategic raw material projects, which of course includes San Jose. We are not only a raw material project, but we are very heavily aligned to that strategically important control of lithium chemical refining. They're assisting now in accelerating and streamlining permitting processes within all 27 EU member bloc states and ensuring compliance with the highest levels of environmental legislation within the European Union. From our perspective, not only do we need to adhere to those environmental standards, ethically and morally we need to be aligned to win our societal licence and engage with the local community, but also in the backdrop of the battery passport, every lithium-ion battery that's going to be moving forward is going to be stamped with a measure of the CO2 footprint. So there's a commercial reality to being as green as possible, not only in harmony with the environment and the community, but to participate within the European story. There have been new funding mechanisms announced to accompany the European Investment Bank, the COVID recovery and resilience funding packages totalling some 750 billion, and a new 400 million euro fund aligned to sustainable battery materials was also announced in February. In terms of Europe, I think we've all seen a lot of hockey-shaped curves here. In terms of pricing, the outlook for lithium's clearly robust, and Europe's looking at a 300,000 tonne supply deficiency position at least by 2030. We're all aware of the global arms race here for lithium chemicals, and really it's an opportune time for further downstream companies, OEMs, lithium-ion battery producers, to start running the ruler over resource projects. And we've seen a number of market commentators allude and analyse that over the last couple of months. Again, the localised supply chain, there are obvious and clear benefits to that in Europe. We can have a look in that in the deck when it's made available offline. And just quickly before I wrap it up, just to touch on Infinity Green Tech. So we're developing a novel and innovative process that is entirely new to the industry, that is more environmentally friendly, uses a lot less energy, it's very fast, much lower CapEx and much lower OpEx. So there's really a revolutionary opportunity here to redefine how lithium chemicals can be processed. We've achieved recoveries in excess of 70% already with our material from San Jose, and we're moving forward into our next steps of the test work program to assess hectorites and other lepidolite and low-grade materials. Look, my time's up, so I'll wrap it up from there, but thanks for the opportunity here today and more than happy to field any questions.